Hi guys, so a very belated happy Valentine's Day. It is just going on midnight on Saturday night, so technically in about 2 minutes it's going to be February 16th. So happy belated Valentine's Day. I hope everybody had fun. Michael and we went away for a night. We went to a hotel. I actually went to the hotel that we got married in. We just needed to get away for the night, and we just had a nice dinner inside the hotel, and then we stayed and we watched TV. He slept because he hadn't slept all day, and just it was a crazy day. Excuse me, I got dog hair all over my computer. Go figure. Oh, and we celebrated 20 years together this past Sunday, the 9th. So a lot went on this week between the two of us. We had our 20th anniversary being together, and then we had Valentine's Day yesterday. So very exciting, very exciting. Okay, so this is the video that I've been wanting to do, but I've been kind of, what's the word I want to use? Hesitant to do because it's very personal, but it's also, what's the word? It's more important than anything on two aspects that really touch me personally, because a lot of women go through pretty much what I've been going through. Okay, so here's what's going on. My last video was January 2nd, 2015. I had to look it up because I didn't remember what date it was. So we're talking about 5 years ago to the day that I came back, just almost. So even before that, it had been a few months before I put up a video, and I had wanted to get back on so bad. Shortly after I did that video, I got really sick, and I thought maybe I had the flu. And what happened was, when we were still living in Bloomfield, I had my own little office where I did my videos every day, and I had a futon in there. So because I didn't know what was going on with me, I didn't want to sleep in the bed next to Michael and get him sick. I thought maybe it was just, like I said, I thought maybe it was just a really bad flu. So I laid in my futon for 2 weeks, and I was miserable. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't eat. So it's not like I wasn't throwing up or anything. I could not eat, and I could not stand the smell of anything. Even plain water smelled like pure garbage to me. It was just, oh, it was gross. It was, oh. And I felt bad because Michael, the few times that he came in to check on me, or he would come in to sit with me, sometimes he would bring in food because he would just get home from work and he needed to eat. And I'd have to tell him, I said, babe, you got to go in the other room. I can't stand the smell of that. It's making me just not feel any better. So what happened was, during those 2 weeks, I mean, I was not me at all. I had no energy. I had no sense of time. My hair was falling out. I was a mess. So also during this time, I realized that my menstrual cycle, which was never regular to begin with, was in the weirdest shape it had ever been in. Now, mind you, January 2015, I was 34. Now, here's the weird thing about me. My menstrual cycles started very early. They started like when I was between the ages of 8 and 9, where most girls are getting them 11, 12, 13 years old. I was a very unique case. I have always been a very unique case. I've never had regular menstrual cycles. Never had them on time. Never had them at the right time of the month. They just came and went on their own. Not because I was on any medication. Not because I was doing birth control. It was always that way. I never had that kind of luck. So then I realized I was bleeding really, really bad. Guys, I'm sorry too. I should apologize before I get into this. It's going to get very graphic. Okay? So I noticed I was bleeding really bad. And I didn't know why, because I figured since I started early, maybe I'm going to be hitting menopause early. Maybe this is my premenopause. I didn't know. So after I felt better, and mind you, during these 2 weeks, the few times I was able to get up to use a shower, to take the shower, everything from my shoulders down just felt like sandbags. Wet, gloppy, heavy sandbags. I mean, literally, it felt like somebody was just trying to pull me down. My neck up, I felt like an airhead because I felt so lightheaded. And I just I couldn't figure out what was going on with me. So once I was getting up and around and starting to feel a little bit better, I finally went to go see my primary doctor at the time. So um, when I saw him, he had known me from a few years before that because he was also my grandmother's primary doctor. So the second he walks in and he looks at me, he goes, "Wow, you are pale." So I told him what was going on. I told him about me being on the couch for 2 weeks. I told him about my heavy periods. I told him that they're lasting a lot longer than usual. So he diagnosed me with menses. And he gave me a prescription. And he told me to take that for a little while. All right, fine. Didn't help. So when I went back to him, he told me to get in touch with my gynecologist. And he was also going to start me on 6 rounds of iron IV treatments. Iron infusions, that's what I was looking for. So I scheduled those for July, and in the meantime, I'd also gone to my gynecologist, and she had recommended that I just go ahead and do those. She did a usual yearly physical exam on me, but she said, yeah, something's not right. So do the IV treatments, figure out what's going on, and then we'll just go from there. So the IV treatment started in July, and they went for 6 weeks. So 6 weeks, I think went into the first week of September, first or second week of September. So for a little while, I was feeling okay. But right around maybe the beginning of November. I'm trying to think. Yeah, the beginning of November, I'd stop by my grandmother's house. And, I don't know why I was in town. I was around here for something. But I stopped by my grandmother's house. I had a cup of tea and I excused myself to use the restroom. So I went upstairs to use the restroom. And mind you, right before I went upstairs to use the restroom, I started feeling pain. So I didn't think anything much of it. I thought, okay, my period's coming, it's fine, whatever. Well, as soon as I sat down, I noticed I was bleeding. Great, whatever. But the pain got so bad. I passed so much tissue through my system that I had a glop sitting in the bottom of the toilet bowl. And the bleeding wouldn't stop. So I thought something happened. I was hemorrhaging really, really bad. So I came down and I told my grandmother, we have to go to the hospital. Something's not right. I am bleeding and it won't stop. So I went to the hospital, which is only like literally a 2 or 3 minute drive from my grandmother's house. So we went to the ER. I told them what was going on. And they had a gynecologist on call come in and check me out. So they did blood work on me. And my blood work was low. It was really low. My doctor actually had blood work on me. That's why he ordered IV treatments for me. He said that my blood count for my size and my height should have been between a 12 and 14. Yeah, 12 and 14. And at that time it was 8. So it was low. So when I went to the hospital in November, they did more blood work. And my blood work was even lower. It was down to a 7. So they had me transferred to another hospital to do another round of IV treatments. They're like, oh, you'll be in and out, you'll be fine, you'll go home tonight. Okay, whatever. I didn't go home that night because when I got there, it was already 8 o'clock at night. I was like, yeah, right, that ain't happening. So when I got there, they admitted me. I was only supposed to go into the ER to get IV treatments. Why they couldn't do it at this hospital, I don't know. So when I got there, it was late. They're like, oh, we're going to get you started. We just got to get blood work on you. I was like, you just had blood work. Well, we need to do it for our facility. Sorry, fine. So by the time I got blood work done and they tested that, they saw that my iron counts, my blood counts were all low. So they're like, okay, we're ordering your IV treatments right now. All right, fine. So my first IV treatment didn't come until after 12:30 in the morning, after midnight. So needless to say, I didn't go home that night. I had to have 3 rounds, but I can only do them within a 6-hour period. So 12:30, 3:30, and 6:30. I had those 3 rounds. Mind you, I still didn't get home until almost 8 o'clock that night. The next night, I'm sorry. So that was, I went to the hospital on Tuesday. That was a Wednesday night. So didn't know what the hell was going on. So I was given the treatments overnight in the hospital. I finally went home. They sent me home with some medication, and they said if anything comes up, let us know. All right, fine. So for the next few weeks, I was okay. It wasn't great, but I was okay. So Christmas came, and oh my God, Christmas Day, I was in a lot of pain. I was downing Advil like every 3 to 4 hours, and just to get me through the day. I mean, at this point, I went and I saw my brother in Denville. I was here at my grandmother's house, and I was just, I was delirious with pain, but I had to hide it because I didn't want anybody to know, because the next day I was supposed to drive down to North Carolina. So, oh, puppy on TV. So, made it through Christmas. I don't know how. I don't even. My guess is for dinner we had spaghetti and a salad, because that's usually what we do every year anyway. So the next day comes, and I was supposed to drive to North Carolina. I didn't make it that day. I was in so much pain, and I hadn't called anybody. I barely got out of the shower when I saw people calling my phone, asking me where I was, if I had left, what's going on. So I had to call my mom. I had to call my sister. I said, "There is no way. I'm in so much pain. There's no way I can drive today. I just need a day to relax." So drove down the next day. Barely. And when I say barely, I mean I had to stop every few hours to take a break. My very first stop actually was Delaware rest service, when you first get into Delaware. And I slept for 3 hours in my car, in my front seat. I just knocked my front seat back and I just fell asleep for 3 hours. So I don't remember a lot from that trip. I was a mess. I know Michael flew down to see everybody. I left before Michael. Michael had to work a few extra days, so I drove down by myself, and Michael flew down. I think the night before New Year's. I can honestly tell you, I don't remember a lot from that trip. I remember some stuff only because I have it documented on videos and pictures, and it was not pleasant. The drive back, I cried almost the whole way home. I was so uncomfortable. I was so upset. And I was hurting. I was hurting so bad. So January, the first week of January, actually the day after I got home, we drove back on a third, I think. We drove back on the second or third. So the next day I drove home. I'm sorry, the next day after we got home, I called my gynecologist and I told them what was going on. I said, I just got back from North Carolina, but I'm in really bad shape. I need to see somebody like right away. This can't wait. So they got me an appointment. They got me an emergency appointment, but the problem was the 2 offices because there's apparently like 3 or 4 offices the 2 offices I usually go to weren't open. I had to go to an office about an hour away from where I lived at the time. So I made it there just barely. And I saw not my primary gynecologist. That's also one of her partners, who I love to death. She was a sweetheart too. And she checked me out, and she's like, well, let's get blood work on you, and I think we have to schedule you for a DNC. It's like, I wasn't looking forward to hearing that. I said, well, how does this all work? Because mind you, I'm delirious, in pain, and I'm tired, and I'm just worn out, and mind you, I had to drive by myself down there because I had nobody to take me. So she explained everything to me, how it all works. I'd be put under, they'd take care of me, down there inside, and then we would see where we'd go from there. So she's like, well, let's get blood work on you, and then we'll schedule you for Thursday. So this was Tuesday. So Thursday, I had a surgery. No, actually, I apologize. I saw her on Tuesday. I was scheduled for Friday. Now, listen to what happens. This was a morning appointment. This was like 10:30. I got out of there just before lunch. So by the time I got home, I told Michael I'm having surgery on Friday. So I made plans. I told call my grandmother, call my mom. I told my grandmother, I said, you mind if I stay with you for a couple extra days? Because I'm not going to be in a condition to drive. Of course, she said yes. So, oh my God, my back. So that afternoon, I'm getting stuff ready. And my doctor calls me, the one that I had seen earlier that day. She calls me, she goes, Michelle, I need to talk to you. All right, I'm thinking, that doesn't sound good. She goes, your blood count and your iron counts are extremely, extremely low. We need you to go into the hospital today and get a blood transfusion before we can operate on you. Otherwise, you will bleed out. And I was like, okay, when? How soon? She goes, well, we wanted to schedule you for Thursday, but you need to go to the hospital tonight so we can do blood transfusions on you tomorrow. So this was at 2:30 in the afternoon. So I had to race my ass over to my grandmother's house, drop off my stuff that was going to be here for a few days, and make sure I had a bag of clothes and stuff that I could take to the hospital with me and be comfortable. So I got there Tuesday afternoon. Wednesday I had my IV treatments yet again. And then Thursday I had my surgery. It was the same day surgery. So they took me in the morning. They did the surgery on me. They kept me all afternoon, and I didn't get home till like 6 o'clock, almost dinner time. And we're coming up to a house. We're going to be looking for a female subject who has an active warrant out for her arrest. She has several charges. And it was a scary situation. So, excuse me, guys, something just popped up on my computer. Okay. So I had my DNC the first week of January. So for a couple of weeks after that, maybe into the first week of February, I was back to okay. I wasn't bleeding as much. At times I wasn't bleeding at all, which was perfect. I was like, maybe this actually worked. It didn't. So what happened was, maybe, like I said, the first week of February, I started bleeding really heavy again. And I still didn't understand why, because it didn't make sense to me what was going on. They said it wasn't PCOS. They said it wasn't endometriosis, although that's what they said it probably started out as. And this word gets really hard. It wasn't PCOS. And at that point, it was endometriosis, which is what they probably thought it started out as. But what was happening with my uterus is that the lining was pushing my uterus out, because when women get their periods, they lose lining on their uterus. That's usually the little clumps of tissue that fall out of women when they're having their periods. That's the heavy part of the period. So what was happening was my uterus, the lining of my uterus, the walls were getting so thick. That's why I was having so much pain, and that's why I was having so much tissue moving through, and I couldn't control the bleeding. So that's why they had to do a D&C. They tried to scrape as much as they could out so that the bleeding, if any came back, would slow down a little bit. So like I said, for a couple of weeks I was okay. First week of February, I started having pains again, and I knew what was going to happen. So I got on the phone with my gynecologist, and I told him, I don't know what else to tell you. The D&C obviously didn't work. So she's like, well, I hate to tell you this. Your only other option right now that I can think of is you may have to have a hysterectomy. Really didn't want to hear that. I really did not want to go through that. Mind you, this is still February 2016. This is all going on in a short amount of time. So she's like, well, let me make a few phone calls. Let me see if something else will work out for you. So a couple hours later, she calls me back. She goes, well, I have this treatment. It's a pill, and it's highly recommended by one of my mentors, who is apparently a gynecologist that was still practicing at the time. I don't know if he still is, but apparently she studied under him. He was a mentor. I don't know, something along those lines. So he recommended this medication, and for the life of me, guys, I apologize, but I don't remember what it was. It started with an M. That's all I can tell you. So she prescribed me these medications, and we made an appointment for a follow-up. So I started taking the pills, and at first it didn't seem like it was working, and I was getting nervous. So, oh, you puppy. So by the time I had the appointment with her, it didn't seem like it was working. I was getting very frustrated. She goes, well, give it a few more days and see what happens. All right, fine. So about a week later, I noticed I wasn't bleeding as much. I wasn't hurting as much. I'm like, okay, maybe this is going to work. I apologize. I forgot to add one more thing. While I was having my D&C, I also had an IUD put in. Forgot to mention that. This is where it comes in too. So my D&C, I had an IUD put in. That was the first week of January. Okay, so we're going all the way back. Okay, first week of January, I had my D&C, and the IUD was put in. Still didn't control the bleeding, so I went back to her the first week of February, and she gave me the pills. Okay, so that's where we are right now. So a few days after Valentine's Day, I noticed that the bleeding is starting to slow down. I'm not feeling pain. My energy's coming back a little bit. I'm still pale. My hair's still falling out. But I'm not as bad. By the time the middle of March came around, maybe, let's put it down, let's say by the time St. Patrick's Day came around, I wasn't bleeding anymore. I was actually feeling a little bit better. Still pale, still losing hair, but feeling a little bit better. Alright, fine, great. Everything's working. So by the time summer came around, I was good. I started getting color back. My hair wasn't falling out as much, although it was still falling out, just not as bad as it had been. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe this will do. So I was on those pills for almost 2 years. Still went for my checkups, still talked to my doctor, kept up with everything, and I was feeling good. So pills worked miracles for a while. And then right after Christmas of 2015, 17, right after Christmas, maybe like the week between Christmas and New Year's. I wasn't feeling good. I thought maybe just the holidays, because I was starting to feel stomach pains, and maybe the holidays were catching up with me. And then I started feeling that pain again, like the pain that just said, no, I'm gonna screw up your life kind of pain. So I didn't say anything to anybody. I didn't tell Michael, because I didn't want him to start worrying again. So one night Michael goes to work, and I do my usual spiel, be careful, it's the week between Christmas and New Year's. There's still a lot of people out, a lot of people still drinking, a lot of people still crazy. But I'm trying to hold in the fact that I was in so much pain. And I couldn't hide it for very long. That night, when I was trying to get some sleep, when I had gone to bed, I had just fallen asleep, and the pain, oh my God, it was the sharpest pain I had ever felt, sharper than before. So I raced my butt to the bathroom, and no sooner did I sit down, the pain got 10 times worse, and I knew what was coming. I literally had to hold my hands over my mouth to hold in the scream, because
Because you're irritated. I don't have to worry about that. Do I? Harmful bacteria lurk just below the gum line.
Press Gum Detoxify voted Product of the Year. It works below the gum line to neutralize harmful black bacteria and help reverse early gum damage. Gum Detoxify from Crest.
Alice was sad to gain so much. She wished there was a way to make it last longer. Say hello to your fairy godmother, Alice. And long-lasting Gain scent beads. Part of the irresistible scent collection from Gain.
I knew what was coming, so I had to hold my hands over my mouth, and the pain just got so much worse, and I just felt the biggest release. And it was, I can't say even felt good, it really felt actually disgusting, because I had a huge amount of tissue pass through, and it literally made me feel so nauseous. I thought I was going to get sick right on the floor, but I was able to keep everything down, and I was able to work through that by myself. Mind you, we had a roommate at the time, so literally I had to just keep it all within me not to scream bloody murder for somebody to, I don't even know what, I don't know how anybody could have helped me at that time. So I was in the bathroom for a good hour. I was praising God and everything else up there, that Michael was at work and my roommate was sleeping and didn't have to get up to use the bathroom. I was in there, I was cleaning myself up, cleaning up the bathroom, and I was in tears. I don't think I slept the rest of that night. I was just in so much pain. And I didn't know whether I should have gone to the hospital that night. I didn't know if I should have called my gynecologist right away. And just all the thoughts and the memories and everything from the last few years just kept flooding back, and I was such a mess. So the next day when Michael got home, I ended up telling him what happened. So I waited a couple days until I called my gynecologist. Actually, it ended up being the day after New Year's. And I told her what happened. So she's like, we're at the end of the line. We can't do anything else. The pills obviously aren't working anymore. I guess my body got immune to them and just wouldn't work anymore. They were hoping it was going to be a long-term thing, because they were trying to avoid a hysterectomy at all costs. So I went in and I saw my gynecologist, and
Hey, what room is she in?
she's like, this is it. There's nothing else we can do. It's either you keep on living like this or you have a hysterectomy and possibly save your life.
She got any weapons in the house? Even more?
So I agreed. I gave in. Michael's here. He doesn't know I'm talking about this now. I'm recording. So yeah, I gave in and I agreed to the surgery. And it sucks. Reliving all this. Because like I said, Michael and I just celebrated 20 years together. At that point, we would just celebrate 18 years. And what a lot of people don't know is that for a good portion of those 18 years, we tried to have kids. And it never worked. And there was a year that I actually looked into, infertility treatments and IVF and all this. And one year was particularly bad. 2012, oh my God, everybody got knocked up in 2012. And friends got knocked up. My sister got knocked up. Just my niece. And it wasn't a good year because everybody was having babies. And I'm sitting here, I'm still thinking, why not me, So all these memories flood back. All these memories flood back that, you tried and you tried and you tried and you tried and everybody else got it and you didn't, So, the the lady who schedules all surgeries for the doctor calls me up and she goes, well, the earliest we can get you in is February, February 14th. So, as long as it was after my grandmother's birthday, that's all that mattered to me at that point. And I said, all right, fine, let's do it. Let's just get this over with. And guys, just to let you know how bad this was, the day of my surgery, they had to pull more blood to see where I was. And my blood and iron count was down to a 6.8. So I was low. But they gave me a quick shot of IV an hour before surgery just to get, just to keep me going. And then they had ordered a backup supply of blood. And it was hard. I went in.
Who's it? Bridget? Just said he'd like her to get this started.
I went into surgery. I went into the operating room, and my doctor was on my right, and then her assistant was on my left, and they were both holding my hands, and it took everything in me not to lose it, because I knew what was coming. So I did what I did best, and I made a joke with the anesthesiologist. I said, when you put me under, give me something that makes me dream of puppies and kittens. And he laughed, and the two women laughed, and I said, no, I'm serious. I want puppies and kittens in my dreams. So,
We wouldn't be having this mess, all right? Do you know that now that he can get charged too for lying?
What I should also mention is that during surgery, when I was having my hysterectomy, I'm sorry, let me go back. So when they scheduled my surgery, I also was scheduled for pre-surgical testing, and they had to do a sonogram and more blood work. I mean, the whole gamut. They had to run everything. So when they were running the sonogram, they were looking for the IUD, and they thought they saw it. Okay, so keep this in mind about what I'm about to tell you. They thought they saw the IUD still inside. When they were doing the surgery, when I was still under, first of all, they had to use how many bags? I think they ordered 3 bags of blood. They had to use 2 because I was bleeding really bad. I was right there. So while I was under, they couldn't find the IUD when they did the hysterectomy. And what happened was they brought in an X-ray machine to see if maybe it got dislodged somewhere, and they couldn't find it on any of the X-rays. So my gynecologist, and I didn't find this out until my first checkup after my surgery. She actually sat there and literally butterflied my uterus on the table to look for the IUD. They found a scar on my uterus. That one episode that I had in the bathroom when everything came back twofold, that's, I think, I firmly believe when I lost that tissue that came out of nowhere, I believe the IUD was attached to that. I believe I lost my IUD in that episode. So that's how bad everything was. It was not pleasant at all. So it was the hardest thing I had to do. Because that was the finale, that you're never gonna have kids. So the only saving grace right now is I have 3 nephews and I have a niece that I love dearly. I don't get to see my nephews much because they're away in North Carolina. I don't get to see my niece much, even though she's in Denville, because other situations with that. But it's the hardest thing to do. When you try and you see everybody else having babies and you're so sick that it almost takes your life because you technically nearly bled out. Not from a gunshot wound, not from a cut, not from an accident, but because your body just rejected you, and it sucks. And it's just, you go through life, and anybody will tell you. My mom will tell you. My sister will tell you. I had always said, I can't wait to have a baby when I grow up, and I can't wait to be a mom, and I want a little girl. And Michael and I, when we were starting to try to have kids, we even had names picked out, and it was hard.
For those other people who were outside and who the officers clearly believed knew she was in there and were trying to pretend like they didn't know anything.
So here's the moral of my story.
Let's go now back to Lawrence, Indiana. This time, Officer Kingree's moved on to a different traffic stop.
When somebody tells you they don't have kids, don't go to them and say, oh, you're so lucky you don't have kids, you have no idea what you're going to be able to enjoy in life. Well, no, that's not always the case, because I'm always going to have a missing piece of myself. I'm not going to be able to say, okay, well, I have a child to, carry on my life, carry on my husband's life. I don't have that chance to watch my own child grow up and bring me grandkids. I got 3 nephews, I got a niece, I can watch them grow up. That's fine. It is fine, but having my own would have been better. So don't ask people when they're going to have kids or why they're not having kids. First of all, it's really none of your business. Second of all, you don't know what's going on with them. I mean, I just saw a friend of mine today, and she's like, well, you have kids, right? I said, no. I said, I couldn't have them. She goes, I'm sorry. And she goes, I thought you had kids. I said, no, I have 3 nephews and a niece. She goes, you're not going to have any? I said, I told her, I said, I can't. I had a hysterectomy, and her face just fell. She's like, I feel so bad. I'm so sorry. I said, you didn't know. I didn't make this public. This is my first time making this public. Only so few people knew what was going on with me. My family, Jamie, and a couple other people. And that was it. This is my first time making this public. This is why I've been gone for so long. You know, it's infertility sucks. Not being able to have kids sucks. And knowing that the one thing you wanted so bad and you can't have it, it's horrible. So, but 2 years later, I'm somewhat healthy. I still have, you know, I still have emotional and mental scars. Physically, I'm a little bit better. You know, I'm not 100%, but you know, I still have my times where I'm drained and I'm just done. I'm out. Check out. I don't want to do it no more. So, I don't know what else to leave you guys with, but again, when somebody when
What about this crispy tender sandwich? I know. Oh man, we both got tots. All for $2.99. This is ridiculous.
so here's my only advice. One, if you're ever feeling sick and you're just if you're ever feeling sick to the point where it just feels like it's beyond a cold or beyond the flu, or you know, it's just, you know, it's something not right, have yourself looked at, have yourself taken care of. Because if I had taken care of myself sooner, maybe something better, maybe there may have been a different outcome. I will never know. Ever know. I will never ever know. Secondly, if you're a parent, if you have kids, although they may be the biggest pain in the ass, appreciate the fact that you have them. Because for every parent out there that says, there are times I just don't want my kids anymore, there's people like me that will say, well, I'd be happy to take them for you. I'd be happy to be in your place right now. I mean, I know not all kids are perfect. God, trust me, I know. But for every one bad day that you have with your kids, I have a lifetime of knowing I will never have that. That's all I can tell you. So guys, that's my story. That's why I've been gone for so long. So, but take care of yourselves, love your family, love your kids, love your life. Because tomorrow's never promised. Tomorrow's a chance. Every day's a chance. Alright guys, I'll talk to you guys soon. I'll see you soon. Send me love, send me prayers. Love you guys. Bye.